Hey Collective, happy new moon in Gemini. We're going to be doing another significator reading tonight with the Eight of Swords, because that is first decan or decan Gemini, which is what we're in right now. That time period goes from the 21st through the 31st, if I'm not mistaken. And I've heard it pronounced both ways, decan or decan. So either way, so looking at the Eight of Swords as our significator, especially with the new moon, this might be something that is hidden and is coming to the surface, or even is not readily apparent and is coming into our awareness. Uh, and I'm just going to give a trigger warning for this reading because this is like the gaslighting card. At least that's a meaning that I can attribute to it because if you see the crow here, that crow is loosely bound. And I see a lot of the more traditional interpretations as like self-limiting beliefs, self-imposed prison and whatnot. This could also be things that are we're being influenced to believe, like with gaslighting, how that works. Uh, Something might be making you question your reality, might be making you question a situation. If you're in any sort of conflict, maybe somebody's popping up, out of the woodwork to like, are you sure you remember that correctly? Something skeevy like that. So let's get the first card here to just get a little more detail on what it is we're dealing with. Here we go. Four of Pentacles in reverse. Loosening our grip on the material. Oh, so this, okay, so I've been getting like whapped over the head with the color red. So this could be the root chakra, the like your foundations, your resources, things like that. And so is someone potentially who has some sort of power, authority, whatnot over you, making you feel uncomfortable about your finances. This feels like it's already getting a little heavy. Like we might be talking about some financial abuse. Uh, and Saturn just moved into Aries. So you might be waking up to how like egregious this financial abuse could be and how nefarious and sneaky that could be. I want to get another clarifier here. Because that could be in your home life, that could be at work, that could be numerous things. Maybe there's some sort of fine print in a contract that you weren't made aware of. Something was signed like quickly, but you might be seeing these situations, these respective situations, for what they are. Now, the Sun in reverse and the Seven of Wands. So, a delay to a reward that's not a diversion of a reward, it's a delay. And the Seven of Wands is my Be still and know that I am God card. And in reverse, this is like unnecessarily engaging in conflict. So it feels like there's a need to get into observer mode here. Because if you are in a situation where there's gaslighting or financial abuse or anything of the sort going on, you want to get your bearings, you know? So let's get some more details here on the left about like what is this situation or who does it involve? Just some more details. And I made red tea or like really dark pink tea to go with the theme. Let's see. First card on the left. And if you are going through this situation, I definitely empathize with you. This is something that I've been through before. Uh, one of my exes, he would like act like he was this like head of household so much more important than me because he made like $1 more an hour than me. And because of that, that was like the justification for me doing more housework and like errands and blah blah blah, and it was just a red flag that was not clear until I lived there. So glad I'm out. But it could be something like that, like loosely bound, like really flimsy logic, because swords is air, it's mind. And that's like the nefarious kind of strategy behind gaslighting. Like it's so absurd, and there's some basis in reality for that logic of like technically yes, he made more money than me, but by a hair. Like but it was his way of like staying in control, feeling important, whatnot. It was just icky behavior all around. Three of Wands, a bridge over troubled waters in reverse. Oh, someone's trying to stop you from leaving something? Or someone's trying to like control your path? I don't know how they would do that. But like going back to that example of my ex, there were a lot of behaviors that weren't apparent until I lived there. And when I moved in, I was already in a vulnerable situation, and he like swooped in to save the day or whatever. But really, it was like trapping me in a bad situation because like I had just left a job right around then, so it made me really like financially vulnerable, and there was like a 6 week gap in me getting a paycheck, which I was able to pay like my portion of the rent and whatnot with my the return on my deposit from my old apartment when I moved in. But it still was like this thing that was held over my head of like comparing me to his ex who didn't like work for a long time. Like it was really gnarly stuff. And that is how they get you. Like they keep you in these really bad situations because when you're vulnerable, they'll like swoop in as this like white knight or whatever, when really they're taking advantage of your vulnerability. Yeah, the star in reverse. So this is somebody who seems like they're putting on a show. They're not really as like grand as they say they are. They're not this prize, but they're trying to do something to impede your progress in some way so that you end up counting on them. Kind of like trying to riff off of that example because this feels so much like that. And it almost like the thing that just came to mind too was like, I can make you a star. Like slimy as all get out. Uh, but then you're like trapped in a situation like Cassie from the Diddy trial, of where she is like under his thumb and he is in control of her career progression, of her, financial well-being and whatnot. And really the root of financial abuse is women not like having access to our own money, or whomever is the victim in the scenario. It just often, more often than not, is women who are the victims in these scenarios. But not having as many financial opportunities, like I think the last estimation I saw of what it would take to resolve the wage gap, it would take like 108 years with the way we're going right now. uh, and things don't seem to be improving. But this is like, don't give up control of your finances, whatever the case may be. And back to like another example that I brought up, like fine print in a contract, something that got signed quickly. Maybe there's something in that where they want to control the equity of something. I don't know. Um, but it's like they end up taking more credit than really what is warranted and just reaping the rewards off your back. So a false star, a false king of pentacles. What what should we do over here on the right? What's the advice? How do we counter this? The Fool in reverse. There's some lotus flowers on here too. No mud, no lotus. This is like a non-starter. So maybe you haven't signed a contract yet. Maybe there's some sort of offer coming your way, or you haven't moved in with that person, like in my situation. Whatever this leap of faith this person is asking you to do, like if you get that gut feeling of like, nope, that's enough. You don't need any type of explanation beyond that. It can just be, nope, don't wanna. I don't know, the wind blew to the left today and I expected it to blow to the right, so I'm not going to. Whatever the case may be. And it could be very telling as well of this false star, the false king of pentacles, what type of reaction you get for not taking the leap of faith, or maybe expecting, which is reasonable, time to sleep on an offer, review the contract, whatnot. If they're trying to get you to sign it quickly, like, it's your life, but maybe don't do that. There's generally no reason for, no good reason, or a reason that would benefit the recipient of that contract to like make them like sign now, because what is their hiring budget gonna run out today? No. It's not. If it is, that's not a place you want to work, right? uh let's see, because that's just like used car sales tactics of, trying to get people to sign stuff fast and like, get this deal while it's hot. Queen of Wands in reverse. Is everything coming out reversed? Yeah, that's upright. Seven of Pentacles, patience. So that could be a message too of whatever this restrictive situation is. You just need a bit more patience to get through it. Again, going back to that observer mode and being non reactive and being responsive, because like being non reactive doesn't mean being a doormat and just letting people walk all over you. No, like hold the line of your boundaries, but once they're off that line, like you back up too. Like give yourself the space from that situation. But the Queen of Wands in reverse, not as manipulative as the Queen of Swords in reverse. False passions, false ideas. If this is maybe a king or queen of swords further in the background, ugh, do they know what you're passionate about and are playing off of that? That's super manipulative if that's the case. Or is this someone trying to convince you that you don't have what it takes for whatever this new journey is? Because it could be a legitimate offer, um, whatever this contract opportunity, so on and so forth, may be. It just needs like real review, you know? Yeah, Ten of Swords in reverse. That is like the way I interpret Ten of Swords in reverse is once you hit rock bottom, there's only one way to go, right? Up. Uh, have you reached the depths, the pit of this situation, whatever it is. Because once you realize someone is gaslighting you, there's a lot of emotions, really complicated emotions to go through. Because you go through that, not only that broken trust in that person, but that broken trust in yourself. And that's what makes it so insidious of leaving you in this Eight of Swords energy of so loosely bound you could just walk out of that prison, out of that cage. But it's like brainwashing in a cult of your body and your mind and your brain, everything resists that healthy urge to leave. That's the trauma bond. It's not, trauma bond is not two people that have similar backgrounds that are relating to each other. Trauma bond is the, I don't like the term for this, and I think I'll probably get flagged for it, so I'm going to skip over that term. But when somebody is trying to leave a an abusive relationship, it takes multiple attempts, uh, and a really long time on average. And that was my experience too. And I got out faster than most. But there's a back and forth of, there's still like a mental hold over you for some time. And especially if you don't have the vocabulary or access to help that you need, trying to make sense of gaslighting under that situation, brutal. That's what I went through. I didn't I didn't have any vocabulary that we have these days of a way to articulate what was going on. And it leaves you bound, just bound in place. So who is this? Who is doing this? Because it's the Star and the King of Pentacles. What's their true nature? What's behind the mask? I feel like they don't want to be found out. Yep. I was waiting for the Nine of Swords. But it's Nine of Swords in reverse and Page of Swords in reverse. So this could be an aspiring King or Queen of Swords, but they're not as advanced in their manipulation as they think they are. And this is another card that is read more positively in the reverse than it is in the upright. It's like a relief of nightmares. Once you figure out that this person isn't treating you well, then you can begin the journey to healing that wound that's going to be left there. And of course, take your time to feel the feelings, then go to the healing. That they're two separate steps. I tend to skip over the first one. So we'll get a fairy oracle here. See, maybe a fae, a gnome, something, someone to help us through this. Because I feel like we're right on the edge of this, like panning out, turning out how it's going to turn out. Like which stage is it? The return of the hero's journey. So when you get a glimmer of the solution, the resolution, that light at the end of the tunnel, but then something comes out of left field to kind of try and, that's the tempest. It tries to knock you off course, but then you get back on course and have the climactic boss fight. Figuratively. I'm not endorsing anything. We joke, we kid, we kid. Oh, looks like we got two. And this is a new deck, so we'll be going to the book. New to me. We've got Lease of the Shadows and Ecstasis. Really cool art here. We got a 44 and a 2. Ooh, an 8 there. Let's see. And these have quite long descriptions. I am just going to go to the interpretation. But the key words are ecstasy, joy, rapture, and motivation. Ecstasy is something people seek. It feels better than good. It feels, well, ecstatic. We experience it in tiny bursts and in bigger surges. It enables us to recognize the sacred nature of our own being as an experienced fact, not merely a theory or article of faith. Ecstasy is not something that we can make within ourselves, but something that flows through us when we open ourselves to it. It fills us with power and with the motivation to grow, to become what we have the positive potential of being and fulfill our purpose in being here and now on this planet. When we are feeling these surges of joy, we are empowered and we know that we are on an appropriate track for us, the track that leads to a greater meaning and fulfillment in our lives. This card in a reading says, among other things, go for it. It confirms that we are on course, moving in a good direction, and that we are in harmony with the great song. It says great joy and great accomplishment are within your reach. Its song also lights up and empowers the cards around it, healing the past, intensifying the moment, and enlightening the future. So I feel like that is signaling that you will be victorious in whatever this is, overcoming it. Because the Fool is in reverse. And we had talked about it being a potential non-starter. But if it's a contract or an offer of some type, that can be negotiated. I mean, the example that I brought up for my personal life, that's more extreme. That I wasn't really able to negotiate once I already lived there and like didn't have a job, didn't have savings, whatnot. Hopefully, you're not entangled like I was. But let's see. We've got healing the shadows, addictions, bondage, and self esteem. Ultimately, Lice or Lease, not quite sure how to pronounce that. Lice is trying to help people develop true self respect and self esteem, but she has to start much farther down the scale of idealism than that. She tries to inspire practical help for those who need it most. She is the inspiration for the first wobbly steps taken by a damaged soul toward healing. Her presence in a reading indicates that something that had seemed lost and fixed in that loss is now open to healing. Someone is ready to begin, with help, the climb out of the inner mire. There is hope here, and a need for loving kindness tempered by practicality. If you call upon Lice for assistance in helping another, she will always give it, often by encouraging that person to be receptive and others to also be helpful. She always has time to support those who have time for others. Well, and the keyword bondage here definitely matches the Eight of Swords and, 44 combining to 8 and 8. That's very synchronous. So, holding on to your spark, going through a difficult situation, and if you're going through something that involves gaslighting, that's a that's not an easy feat. Uh, Highly recommend seeking professional help, a support group, whatever is available to you if you are dealing with that, because getting in that dialogue with healthy and safe people can help start to pull you out of that construct that's been like woven into you by that situation. Gaslighting is so gnarly. It takes so much effort to work through. The Talos principle. That's a good game. It's like a metaphysical portal if you've ever played Portal. Uh so something to distract yourself, something to take yourself out of that pit of rumination is encouraging those pathways. It can happen, like by stewing on things, and it's important to pull yourself out of that. And it's a puzzle game. Like puzzle games are really engaging. And if that is not your jam, something more involved like that, there's always Tetris or something, more laid back, more like a popcorn game of anything that takes your mind off of it to just let the gears cool, let everything decompress, and give yourself a rest and a break and be kind to yourself. But overall, I hope this helps. I hope this resonates. And if it doesn't, I hope the next one does. Thank you so much.